we are officially renewed for season 3 and picked up.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think everyone can just rest easy that we'll have a new season to you at some point before 2037.
Yeah, or 2039, something like that.
Okay, I don't want to make any promises.
2042.
Guaranteed before 2042. How about that?
Hello? That's not funny!
These looks should be very pleasing. Try to enjoy each equally.
Here is all the interesting facts and small details that you may have missed in season finale of Severance and how they all connect. When we want to start with the Damona clinic, where Mark engages in one of the most compelling conversations in the entire series, but we'll come back a little bit later to that. For now, I want you to notice something else, the space of this scene. The clinic is built like a mirror. Symmetry dominates here. The exterior is perfectly balanced. The balcony holds 2 identical chairs placed directly opposite each other, and the central room where the scene unfolds is filled with mirroring images of the chairs and chandeliers. But not everything is a perfect reflection, and the deviation lies in 2 small statues, one of Kier and the other one of Imogen. On Imogen's side, there is a cupboard and 3 bassinets. Yes, 3. We know now that Jame Eagan, that weirdo, sirened a lot of children in the shadows.
I sired others in the shadows.
For which I am very grateful, because the idea of that freak siring somebody in the daylight is kinda traumatizing.
You also find out that he sired others in the dark, which is really crazy.
He's a pretty scary person.
Yeah.
Anyway, this moment provides even more understanding of the Lumon breeding process. Having 3 bassinets gives a vibe of factory farming, where they are prepared for all kind of situations, whether it's triplets or 3 Innies simultaneously giving birth. Doesn't matter how many until you get that one who has Kier's fire and will be worthy of standing next to Jame in his next revolving.
And one day, you will sit with me at my revolving.
This also connects to the sentiment we have seen in Season 1, Episode 8, when Irving read Kier's words about true love and how he actually felt towards Imogen. That he never really felt the same towards her like he did towards his workers. Kier's legacy is using women for the purpose of recreating and stealing their inventions. Kier, from the bottom of my heart, devour some feculence, please. Another interesting thing in this scene is that as soon as Miss Cobel hears that Mark already knows about the expert's hall from Irving, she is shocked.
From Irving's drawings. What?
Which kind of rules out one of the fan theories about whether Irving was working with her and she was the one to talk to him on the payphone. A question, by the way, that we still don't have an answer for. In the penultimate episode, Irving left to the sunset, implying that his storyline is over. However, I don't believe so, and the conversation in the payphone is the main reason for it. We still don't know who Irving Bailiff was working for or with, and there is no way that this question will go unanswered. I'm also planning to make a video of all of the unanswered questions, so stay tuned for that. Anyways, I'm pretty sure that in Season 3 we will still see more of the dynamic duo between the 2 legends of John Turturro and Christopher Walken. I got a Sever, and the only prescription is more Cobel. I kinda wish this joke was mine, but unfortunately not. So credit to whomever came up with that, because this feculence is gold. But the weirdest part of this whole sequence is the end, where Miss Cobel is very sincerely yelling at Mark that she cares for him.
I care for you.
Stop!
The theory that Miss Cobel is Mark's and Devon's mom has been running around online for a while already, and honestly I was never a fan, because I'm not a very big fan of telenovelas, and this is why I was excited in the end of this episode when no one was pregnant, not Helly and not Helena. But there's also an interesting fact that the age difference between the actors is only 4 years. Adam Scott is 51 and Patricia Arquette is 56. Of course, in a TV show world an age difference can be bigger, but still, probably not 20 or 30 years. I can still see your point though. Cobel stopped sniffing ether at the age of 8, so she was definitely a good candidate for the whole 16 and pregnant. And Jame, that mommy mother wrestler, is definitely not above seducing a teenage girl that probably idolizes him. And yeah, Cobel, being a nanny, knowing how to take care of a child, also works with the desire of her, maybe to babysit her grandchild. Still, it means the creators will have to explain how Mark and Gemma don't remember her, so they were either adopted or their memory was blocked somehow, which feels a little bit like a stretch to me. We know that both Mark and his father had some drinking problems, as Devon joked in episode 1 of season 1.
Sorry, Mark and my dad used to have whiskey as life carved on a flask.
So maybe there is something there to the whole adoption theory, but I guess we'll have to wait and see for season 3. Now, during this sequence, Cobel also confirms something that we kinda already knew, that MDR files are projections of Gemma's mind, and every time there is a completed file made by Mark, it creates a new personality for Gemma. There's still the whole question of Gemma saying in episode 7 that she was in every room but Cold Harbor.
There's only one room I haven't been to yet, and today it had a name on it.
Cold Harbor.
And we have seen in this floor a lot of rooms that are not connected to Mark, like Sienna that was refined by Helly R, like Tumwater that was refined by Dylan, and we have seen 4 rooms, 3 of them in front of Gemma rooms, so it kind of suggests that there were other subjects, and we also know that there are a lot of different branches all over the world, and also Gemma is being in this place only for 2 years, and the whole severance process is being, officially alive for 12 and unofficially probably way more.
It wasn't 10 years ago, it was 20. No. Yes. No! Yes, because I remember. Didn't the first severed office open 12 years ago?
So it doesn't make sense that Gemma is the only subject, and she was in every room and not only in the rooms that were refined by Mark, but maybe it was just some kind of a mistake by creators and the screenwriters. I really wonder what you think about this. What is your opinion? No, I'm trying to avoid recaps, but I have to remind you that she's saying that the emotions the refiners feel are the tempers that were tamed by Kier Eagan. We still don't know how, but anyone who looks at those numbers can feel emotions connected to either woe, frolic, dread or malice. And Cobel is even calling those tempers the building blocks of the mind.
The building blocks of her mind.
But look, we know that Cobel is a very talented scientist that invented the whole severance process. There is absolutely no way in hell that her approach to the science behind this process is, let's voodoo this shit. You see in modern science, that other thing that is often being referred as building blocks of our mind are neurons. And if you remember in the Lexington letter, in the instruction for the new refiner, they're specifically using the word cluster to describe the group of numbers that is supposed to elicit a specific emotion. Neurons also form clusters that work together to perform specific functions in our brain. They're like teams of specialists. Each group is tuned to handle specific types of information, from motion to memory, from decision making to emotion. Our emotions arise from the activity of certain neural networks, particularly those in the region of the brain called the limbic system. So technically, when we experience a certain emotion, it can be identified in our neural activity in the brain. I don't know if this is exactly what served as an inspiration for the creators of the TV show, but it kind of makes sense. So you see, neurons fire in pattern, and neurocoding is the science of understanding what those patterns mean. It is the study of how patterns of electrical activity in the brain represent thoughts, perceptions, emotions, and behaviors. Now, if you remember, when our refiners move in the map of Gemma's mind, we can see that the hex numbers in the bottom of the screen move with them, implying they're sort of a map indicator, like a coordinate. We have seen the same numbers when Gemma's mind was analyzed in episode 7 of this season. This of course doesn't have any basis in neuroscience, but in the show's universe, I think this is how the whole process works, and this is what refiners do. Now, as we remember from the Lexington letter, the definition of a refiner is somebody who makes things pure. To cure humanity, they need to tame thy tempers, just like Kier did. But he was a superhuman, at least according to their cult ideology, which draws a lot of inspiration from Scientology, as was indicated by the use of Meter in episode 7, this is a nod towards an E-meter. This is a machine that makes John Travolta very happy, and Tom Cruise probably too. So in order to achieve Kier's agenda, the solution is to industrialize and to automatize the process of taming or removing the tempers, and that's what Cobel wanted to do with the first Severance chip. And we know that the first version was not ideal and needed improvements.
Do you remember when I brought home the first chip to show you? The prototype. It had the blue and green lights back then.
But even the current, the most recent version of the chip is not achieving the desired goal right on the spot, since we have seen that the barriers of Severance not always holding. Irving B was having visions in his dreams of black goo, and Irving's Outie was drawing the black hallway. Milchick was saying to Mark to come back to Lumon because his Innie's happiness will eventually spread to him also. It makes sense that any technology probably not going to be perfect right from the start, and it also works very well with Lumon's vessel shared corporate philosophy to use their own severed prototypes to create new ones. So how it all supposed to work? First, you identify potential subject for testing, you look for trauma, and when you find it, you send some psychological test to potential prospects. When you find the right one, you do whatever is in your power to take them to your testing floor, where you will analyze their brain to create a first neuromap that will be sent to the relevant refiner. When he will finish the Allentown file, like Mark did, it will create the first Innie for the subject. This Innie will be forced to go through horrible experiences to elicit emotions that will be once again encoded into a new file, and once again it will be sent to the refiner, and so on until someone will eventually achieve the desired outcome, a complete, impenetrable barrier between an Innie and an Outie, which will finally lead to the fulfillment of Kier's vision, a world without pain.
Kier will take away all his pain, just as Kier has taken away yours.
I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to take a step back because it's important to understand Kier's vision in order to understand this episode fully. So it all started with little Kier working in an ether factory. Ether was a drug that was used as a sedative, and also it was used as a recreational drug during the period of Civil War. When Kier grew up, he became a military doctor during the Civil War. He saw how people's tempers led them to pain and suffering, and he understood that with chemical solutions he will be able to relieve some pain, but in order to cure humanity, in order to remedium hominibus, he will need to invent something revolutionary. And on the surface it sounds pretty noble. He wants to cure humanity from suffering, from pain, but we have seen this idea dozens of times and it never works well. My favorite movie on the topic is Equilibrium with Christian Bale and Sean Bean, so I advise you to give this one a chance if you haven't checked it out. But we are seeing even more disturbing signs in Kier's cult that, despite presenting itself as this stoic, emotionless superhuman ideology, is very embedded in the basic human desires such as sexual drive, grandiose gestures, and even more. Now moving on to the scene of Helly R and the cadaver here that likes to throw tins of candies when he has a hissy fit. The moment that Helly is ready to attack him, it kind of reminded me the chapter 2 in Kier's fourth appendix, where we can see Kier creeping up behind his nanny to make her a chaos's whore or something like this.
Only chaos's whore.
The whole theme of murder, of killing, is a very integral part of Kier ideology. They're not above killing people, as we have seen in the Lexington letter when they staged Peggy K's murder as a car accident, and even in this episode we understand that the plan for Gemma is to be killed off after she is not needed anymore.
You will see the world again, and the world will see you.
You cannot show Gemma to the world because for the world she is dead, and her being alive kinda makes Lumon look not really good. In the scene between Mark and Helly we understand that Cobel explained to him everything, but for some reason the creators decided to leave this conversation behind the scenes, so it means they don't want to reveal everything for us. Still, we know that you cannot extract the chip from somebody's head without killing them, so the promise that Dr. Maurer in episode Save gave to Gemma that she will see the world and the world will see her is not actually a lie. He was just technically talking to a chip. A new, more advanced, ideal version that will promise humanity remedium hominimus, a cure for all that will forever remove the pain out of their lives. Another proof of Lumon's intention is an answer that we were looking for many years. What's with the goats? Scientology is not the only parallel. Lumon's cult has a lot of similarities with the satanic cults, the whole Baphomet imagery, the weird spooky masks and the 50 Shades of Waffle Party, and now the sacrificial ritual of poor Emil there, that was supposed to be entombed with Gemma after she is disposed. I wonder if there is also a reason here behind the specific number of files that Mark had to refine, 25, which can be interpreted as a mockery of the 25th of December, birth of Christ. And here they are, birthing the perfect human being with 25. You know, Satanist cults usually really like to mock Christianity. But then again, maybe it's just a coincidence. What do you think? Gladly, this ritual was stopped, and I think there are way more to Lumon's plan regarding Severance process that we still don't have an answer for. Season 3 cannot come soon enough, and will probably dive into the conflict between Mark's Innie and his Outie, and explain more about Lumon's plan that right now has more holes than the Swiss cheese, and many more questions. But before I switch to my Outie, I want to talk about some small details that I didn't mention yet. We have a new department, Choreography and Merriment, that uses instruments that were made by O&D and that we have seen in the intro. First I thought maybe they have some kind of a reference to the CNL department that we have seen in episode 9 of season 1, but probably just a coincidence. I always enjoy when this show focuses on the complete uselessness of a lot of effort by Lumon, that for example shows the image of the Chad Mark S here with 100 completion, but for whom? For the fly on the ceiling? Also in the previous episode we learned of some Gunnel Eagan, and in this one we understand that Gunnel, which means a battle maiden, was probably Ambrose's spouse, and since he was the pariah of the family, it makes sense that Gunnel is being immortalized literally in the edge of the world in Svalbard. And the final thing I will let Innie to discuss is Helly R and Mark are talking about the Equator, which is an imaginary line that slices the Earth into two halves, just like the Severance process, but the more beautiful and romantic is the fact that Helly R and Mark S really meet at the equator of their severed floor, on the lines that separates their half of the life with their outies half of the life. And that beautiful shot with the windmills of your mind is playing is basically feels like it was written for Severance is absolutely amazing. And since we're already starting to discuss the whole storyline between Mark S and Helly R, their love connection, I already feel that my Outie is bursting from inside of me because he's way more emotional than me. I'm more into, you know, details and analyzing, and now he will probably have to switch and tell you everything that he felt while he was watching this episode. Hello everybody and welcome to Geek Anime channel. I'm your detective host Igor, and today we're gonna discuss season finale of Severance, and oh my god, how good it was. It was one of the greatest episodes I have ever seen.
It was perfect. Perfect. Everything, down to the last minute details.
If you are looking for some objective opinion right now, you're not gonna be able to find it on this channel. I mean, I understand that after this, every conversation that I'm gonna have with my friends and everybody around me about Severance is gonna end like that.
God, you're fucking weird.
And right now, in the eyes of Lumon, I'm the ugliest person you can ever imagine, because I'm so filled with emotions, and this is exactly what they don't like.
The barrier is holding.
She feels nothing.
It's beautiful.
So in this part of the review, I want to talk to you about everything that we have seen. I want to discuss some of the moments. I want to talk to you about characters' motivation and what we can expect in season 3 and what we can expect from their storylines. Now we need to switch on to our emotional intelligence, and let's start with Mark's dialogue between him and his Innie. And oh my god, please, somebody give Adam Scout an Oscar or an Emmy, whatever you want to give him, just give him something, because this was one of the best performances performances I have ever seen. The way they were talking to each other, but most importantly, the way they were reacting to that. Think about this, the actor was reacting to himself, and the way Mark's Innie starting to understand that Mark's Outie kinda treats him not very different from Cobel or Milchik or everybody else, treats him like a child basically. He tells them, oh my god, you had this small romance there with this tiny girl, Helene? Oh, I'm so happy that you had this, but right now it's time to die. Let's move on to the real serious love relationship that I had with Gemma, which is obviously way more important than what you have there with this tiny Helene girl. Whatever you kids do there, you know, like, have fun. And seeing the way Adam Scott portrays this excitement that starts with a conversation finally to your Outie, you finally are able to talk to somebody who you were kind of idolizing your whole existence, and then you're starting to understand that there is not so much difference between him and the people that you kind of despise, and seeing his disappointment that actually transforms to anger. Once again, hats off, one of the greatest performances I have ever seen in TV show. Please give this man an Emmy. And I think I've talked about cinematography about 100 times already during this season, but let's talk about this just one more time, one last time, because once again, this whole sequence, the location, the way it was presented to us, the cold, blue colors there, the way the conversation between Mark S and Mark Scout was shown to us with the chairs, one is sitting in front of the other. They pulled up every ace in their sleeve to make this sequence as interesting as possible, because on the paper, a guy talking to himself, recording himself and then opening it up and then just looking at it and then recording himself, answering the questions, it's kind of boring. So the way they were able to make this really exciting is once again shows how freaking professional the people that are making this show. But since I'm geeking out already and we are in the Geek Academy and we're supposed to geek out about things here, so I just want to talk about Helly R. She is the best. She is one of the greatest characters I have ever seen in my life. She is exciting, she is fierce. Every time I'm seeing her just walk somewhere, it already fills me with this, this energy that I cannot even describe. I just want to get up and just follow her because how awesome she is. And when she's talking to the weirdo there and she's telling him, you turn this place to hell and you will burn in it. And the way she wants to attack him, like the silhouette of her holding this pen, almost jumping on him, almost killing this guy, one of the most beautiful shots I have ever seen. And honestly, I will have some kind of a psychological treatment because it will be difficult to survive I don't know how many years right now before I will ever see Helly R again. And by the way, what's with all the I don't love my daughter? I mean, yeah, obviously you don't love your daughter, but the fact that they presented it to us in the script and they made some kind of focus on this, and also when we look at this, the image, the exuberant victory of the Cold Harbor, whatever it is, we are seeing Helena there standing in the middle, like she is the one who's supposed to become the CEO and Helly R is just there with everybody else. And then we have this conversation like we have Kier's Fire and you, and I don't really like Helena because, fuck her. So it kind of makes you think, the creators right now have a very big problem. They need to find a solution how make Helly R survive, because everybody likes her and she deserves to live her life, whether it's a full life, quarter life or half life. And we also have a Dylan G line, which is very interesting because it kind of shows to us what is the biggest merit of somebody having an Innie. Like this is one of those situations when the Innie is actually better than the Outie. Actually, when you think about it, Helly R is way better than Helena. Mark S is kind of better than Mark Scout, especially right now when he's depressed. Dylan G, we just discussed it, he is way more fierce, he's an alpha male. He's very impressive, as Dylan's Outie said. Irving B, for example, was able to find love, which Irving's Outie was never able to do in his whole life. So even though they don't really need to have excuses for them to stay alive, but it kind of helps when the creators are actually explaining to the audience, like, look at those people. Even though some of them like Helly R are okay with dying if they are not gonna be in this place, still they live their life, they are happy, they are experiencing love, and everything about them is actually deserving to survive. So Are they preparing for us a scenario where Helly R will be able to survive on the outside? And in order to do this, maybe you use some kind of a reverse Glasgow block, and then Helly R is on the outside, OTC is being switched forever, or something like this, because, you know, as far as we can see, Jame don't really care about Helena, and I don't think he will be against the fact that Helly R will take her place. Of course, if they will have some kind of a hope that they will be able to turn her into their ideology. When Mark arrives to the Severed floor, he sees the image of the exalted victory of the Cold Harbor. Now, Innie didn't discuss this, but Cold Harbor was a very big battle in this civil war, so maybe it was a part of, you know, Kier Eagan experiencing a lot of pain, but maybe it once again connected to Selvig's birthplace, which kind of looks like some kind of a Cold Harbor. Whatever this means, what bugs me the most is why are we seeing there Devon and Ricken's friends? I can understand seeing there the MDR, the O&D department, the gold people, even Ricken because he had a significant role in the whole Lumon process, but you know, what about Devon? What about Ricken's friends? Rebecca, what is she doing here? How is she even connected? Maybe it's just the creators wanted to make something nice for all of the actors that had something to take part in this TV show, but in the whole Lumon ethos it kinda doesn't make any sense that we are seeing them. Moving on to Gemma, when she opens up the closet and she sees the clothes that she was wearing when the last time that she was seeing Mark, and she sighs and she feels a lot of pain. I still don't understand. This is because it reminds her the day that she deliberately left Mark because Lumon promised her something, or because she remembers the car accident and the way she was almost dead. And the reason she's being forced to dress like this is because in the Cold Harbor room she's gonna have to face all of her worst memories. First of all, leaving Mark, whatever happened there, and the second of all, of course, reliving the loss of a child. And I swear to God, when Mark finished, you know, the Cold Harbor file, and I was just rewatching The Last Dance a week ago, and as soon as the music hit in, I was like, the goats! The goats! And another thing to the credit of the creators of the show, even though they know where they're going, they have their own vision, they also know to give to people what they want, and this is why we got another Milchik dancing scene, and it was amazing. And not only that, we also have another Dylan G hero moment where he saves Helly R, and by the way, Milchik can probably pull some weight because he was able to push both Helly and Dylan G with this huge machine there. Also, my Innie kind of missed this little detail when we see this, you know, the vending machine. Behind it, it's written MDR 001, which kind of implies that this is the first office of MDR. This is where it all started. All of the rest offices, the Lexington, the Italy one, whatever it is, they all came after that. But I want to move on to the fight scene because Evil Hodor there made the worst mistake of his life. First of all, it was simultaneously horrific and very funny. The first punch that he throws towards Mark kind of feels like it landed. I mean, check it out, it kind of feels like Mark S was really punched there in the face, you know, Adam Scott was punched there in the face. But the way he threw the punch, it kind of felt like he's trying to kill a fly, which all of the words of Kier to Mark that make him, you know, the most important person in history, one of the most important people in history, once again, in Lumon's eyes, in the management eyes, he's just a fly, he's a nobody, he's a bug that needs to be squashed. But then again, as I told you, Evil Hodor made the worst mistake of his life, and since he's named Hodor, he should have probably known never to pick up the fight with Brienne of Tarth. She basically bested the Hound, so she will have no trouble besting, you know, Evil Hodor there, especially when he's trying to kill little Emil there, who is looking at Brienne. He's like, you're not gonna let Evil Hodor hurt me, right, mommy? Please don't let him hurt me.
We had worked it out over and over again and practiced it over and over again, and part of my responsibility was, while he's swinging me, for one of my arms to come up and block my body so I could get slammed into the wall at full speed, but it would guard my head and the rest of my body from the wall, and my arm just got like caught behind me or something, and I didn't get it up in time. So I hit it with my head, and I believe that's the shot that's used in the show, right?
So yeah, that also happened, and please check the podcast because it's worth it. It was the best of all of them that they made so far. They brought everybody there to talk about the episode. Anyway, this episode was also funny. I mean, I laughed out loud when he threw the punch, and I also laughed my ass off when Mark by mistake killing Evil Hodder there. It was so funny to me. I don't know, am I a psychopath? It is supposed to be horrific, there's a lot of blood there, everything is horrible, but I was laughing my ass off in this moment. It was just funny, and you know, fuck this guy, he wanted to kill this cute baby goat, and because he wants to do some sacrificial ritual, F this guy. Also, did you notice the symbolism? You know, Mark is going to the Gemma's floor and his shirt is covered with blood, red. We kind of now understand, even though we can already understand, but now it symbolizes that this is his Outie that was always symbolized by the red color. So once again, just a small nod to one of my favorite themes of this TV show. Also, since we're talking about the humor, the way he was chasing after her with the gun and she's like, no, fuck you, no, fuck you, no, I'm gonna kill you. Just the comic genius of Ben Stiller, even in this horrific situation, even in the midst of drama, with everything, you know, collapsing and there's so much emotion, it is exquisite. And you know, I've talked about Innie's rebellion for a lot of time already, and I was so happy to see Helly R, her Aragorn moment, her Theoden on Pelennor Fields moment, when she had, in my mind, the single greatest line of this whole series.
They give us half a life and think we won't fight for it.
Goosebumps, literally goosebumps, because while I'm talking about this moment, I'm reliving it and the emotions are flooding again. So let's move on to something else, because I'm just gonna start talking about how amazing Helly R is, and this crush is uncurable. I just want to stop for a second, I just want to breathe, and I want to ask my homie mommy there a simple question. What's wrong, dude?
Oh, fuck.
Aw, what happened, dear boy?
Oh, fuck.
I mean, you're supposed to be this superhuman that can control his tempers and emotions, no? Fuck! This is just music to my ears. This is Beethoven, this is Mozart, this is absolute symphony. Fuck! And the ending, of course, and the cocktail of emotions. First, Gemma's new Innie seeing her husband for the first time, and we are seeing that the barriers of Severance are not actually holding because she believes Mark. The reason why she believes Mark, and the reason why Mark was able to, you know, refine all of those 25 files, contrary to everybody else, to the failure of everybody else, is because of their pure connection. And there were many test subjects. You know, when Brienne of Tarth is asking how many gods she will have to bring for sacrifice, you kind of realize that there were many more, you know, like people buried there. A lot of people that were probably taken by Lumon, just like Jame, and I kind of think that, you know, the whole car accident actually happened and they just took her and they stole her and they put her in this horrible, horrible place, and it was not her choice, but this is again just my opinion. So everybody else was failing all the time. You know, the Mark W told him that they were not able to finish their quota even once, and Dylan G said that it was very difficult before Mark's, you know, freshman fluke, and even now it's only 1 in 5 before they expire. What does it mean before they expire? Those are people. If they expire, it means they're dead. So their love, their beautiful connection between Mark Scott and Gemma, this is what made it possible, because it just, you know, it finds its way even through the Severance barriers. So when they go out, we have the final reconnection between the wife and the husband. After what we have seen in episode 7, it is way more emotional. We have seen how pure their love was, how amazing it was, how freaking great chemistry they had together. So obviously I was happy for them. Obviously. So when they go up and the kisses, when he starts to kiss her face, I mean, who among us didn't do this for their, you know, loved ones? This is when you really miss them, you start to kiss absolutely everything, the eyes, the ears, the forehead, whatever it is, but then it switches to Miss Casey and Mark S, and both of them like, what is going on? And we finally reach the moment when Mark needs to decide between his obligation to his Outie and his love towards Helly R, and obviously he decides Helly R. I don't understand how anyone can think that he will do something else. Of course he will spend even the last 5-10 minutes of his life with the person he loves. This is how it works.
So look, there is a life to be had here, Helly.
A life to be had?
Could not, with a razor to my throat, be less interested in being your family. No, I don't want her memory. I want my own. Would you like that?
Yeah, I'd like that. You know, nightmare is the wrong word, actually. Because we find ways to make it work, to feel whole. You know, because whatever this life is, it's all we have, and we don't want it to end. Yeah, but I want to live with you.
Just wish we had more time.
I know it's pretty much the same idea and the same topic that's being peddled in every Hollywood movie and TV show. All along, it's the friend we made along the way, and you need to love in order to conquer evil, whatever it is. But then again, if you look at humanity, what else are we living for? Whether it's love to somebody in your family, it's your spouse, it's your child, it's your craft, it's your career, it's, your hobbies, whatever it is, you have to love something in order to survive, in order to have a reason to live. And obviously this is what is being shown to us, and it's been shown to us in the most beautiful way possible. Look, I'm a pretty pragmatic guy. I don't really look for love stories usually in my TV shows and movies. This is not something that I look for, but it's not necessarily something I will never enjoy. And the story love between Helly R and Mark S is one of the most romantic, beautiful stories I have ever seen. And the ending of this season, while they're running in the halls, not really knowing where they run, they just want to spend a little more time together before they are separated. And this beautiful 60s shot when the freeze frame is being shown to us in this film kinda, manner, once again shown to us that this is their moment that can last forever. This is for them the moment of freeze frame. This is how they want to see themselves during their whole life. I hope I can explain this beautifully because, my English is not perfect, and I hope I can, transfer this sentiment here. I mean, this is the moment, this is 1 second, 1 minute that can turn into eternity for them. And this was absolutely poetically beautiful, and this whole season was exactly like this. And I don't know about you, but I'm definitely not ready to let go of Severance, so I'm working on more material for you. Hopefully it will be interesting, and hopefully we will talk about our favorite TV show many more times in days to come. Before I finish, I want to talk to you about this figurine that currently is available on my Patreon, and you can order this on PayPal. This is a figurine that will come with a story that I'm writing right now with a friend of mine, and hopefully it will be available in a couple of months. So let me read you a small synopsis of the story, and you will decide whether it's something interesting to you or not. 2 lives, 2 worlds, 1 fractured soul. Jan is a quiet analytical student, more comfortable with theories than action. He stumbles through life, literally and metaphorically, navigating the structured world of science and logic. A mind built for deduction, he can unravel the most complex of mysteries as long as they're confined to data and reason. Janos, on the other hand, thrives in a realm where magic is woven into existence. A necromancer by trade, he hunts the shadows of this world, solving crimes with the restless dead as his witnesses. Impulsive, impatient, and guided by raw instinct, he bends the arcane to his will, never questioning the cost. They are opposites. They are reflections. They are the same person. Split by a violent, unknowable event, Jan and Janos have lived unaware of the other, 2 halves of the same soul, torn between 2 realms. But the veil separating their worlds is thinning. Glimpses of the other life seep into their waking hours. Their memories begin to intertwine, their emotions blur, and then the impossible happens. When the 2 halves of Riven's soul begin to reach for each other, the very fabric of reality threatens to unravel. Can the 2 lives exist as one? So all of the details will be in the pinned comment. Thank you so much for watching this video. I want to thank everyone who supports me on Patreon and on YouTube. Your financial support and your donation is what make this channel possible. I hope I'm gonna see you on the next one. Meanwhile, Bye!